Hello everyone, my name is Nasir Griffin. It's my first video on this channel, so I want to introduce myself, explain why you should listen to me, who am I. So I am actually a computer science graduate with my bachelor's degree in from Rowan University, so bachelor's of science in computer science. And it has been 7 months since I graduated. I graduated in December of 2024 and I still have not found a job. So I know a lot of you can probably relate to that if you're entry level tech, if you're just graduating. And I'm sure, like me, a lot of you thought that the tech industry was booming. You know, there was a lot of opportunities in tech. You're going to get a good job and, make good money and have a career and everything's going to be great. Well, if you're in the United States of America, especially, then things with the economy right now are not too great. Interest rates are high, mass layoffs. So there's a lot of struggles right now in the industry as a whole. So there's definitely going to be struggles for entry level people trying to get in, trying to make their way and, get noticed, especially by employers, since there's also a huge influx of, CS grads into the market. A lot of people went into computer science, but you found this video. So what that tells me is, like me, you love tech. You truly actually love this industry, you love this craft, and you want to actually be exceptional in tech. So, all right, let me explain to you what I'm doing to try to achieve that goal of being exceptional in tech. So first, some more history. When I graduated and I really saw that there was just no type of offers, nothing was really popping off the way that I thought that it would, I started getting really deep into developing projects. I was just on the grind. Locked in, developing. Started with a MERN-Stack app called Retro Resell that will allow you to, upload games, delete games. It was for retro video game preservation. That's really important to me, something I'm passionate about. So it was basically for connecting different people who are also interested in, retro video game preservation, letting them share and trade games, chat with each other, host their collections on the site, share that with other users. I'm proud of it. It's a good app. After I developed it, I'm looking for MERN-Stack jobs. All right, I'm a MERN-Stack developer. I'm looking for jobs. Let me get out here and hunt this down. So I started applying for as many MERN-Stack jobs as there were. But the first thing I noticed was that there really just aren't that many MERN-Stack jobs. When you get out here and, I'm on the East Coast. Now, let me say, they might be out there on the West Coast. Here on the East Coast, there's really just not that much opportunity for that. We don't have as many startups on this side. And, we have a lot of established companies. We have a lot of medtech, fintech, and they're using more legacy, not even just legacy, but enterprise software and technology. So I saw a lot of positions for Angular, way less for React, in terms of front end, back end, no node. It's basically no node jobs. If you're doing back end, it's almost all Spring Boot and .NET. Almost no node at all. So me personally, I'm gonna adapt. So then that's when I built my second app. That's my RPG. So that was basically gamification of standard social media features. So essentially you upload quests, and then when you upload quests, your stats go up. You pick a class, and then that determines what stats you have. So that app I built using Angular as the front end, Spring Boot as the back end, MySQL database. And that's another thing. A lot of companies really aren't that interested in non-relational databases. A lot of companies that I saw, hiring over here on the East Coast, they want relational. They want either Postgres or they want MySQL. They don't really want anybody who's working with Mongo. So the first thing I would definitely say is to make sure you're diversifying from MERN. MERN is great. That's kind of like the standard thing they tell you, use the MERN-Stack and then you're going to be great. I would strongly recommend that you learn some other technologies, as many as you possibly can. Build applications in different technologies, because if you're just MERN-Stack only, there's just not a lot of those jobs, and that's kind of like everybody's thing now is MERN-Stack apps. And not only that, but I definitely think companies are interested in seeing that you can jump into other stacks, especially if you don't fit their stack specifically. If they see, well, this person is diverse and they can do a lot of different things, then hey, even though they may not know my stack exactly, they clearly can, adapt and learn a new stack relatively fast and build an app in that stack. Taking it back even more on this note, a big reason why I'm in this position is that I personally didn't do internships, because when I was in school, I was working my way through school. So I had a full-time job the whole time I was in school, full-time college. I'm 23, so I graduated on time, more or less. But I was working the whole time, so I didn't do any internships. That's like a nail in the coffin type of thing. So if you're still in school watching this, please do internships. Please network. Do it now. Don't wait, until it's too late. You can't find a job. Network now. Make sure that you're doing that immediately. Get experience now while you're still in school, while you're still eligible for internships. I'm not anymore. I wish I was. Just make sure that you're doing that. But if you're like me and it's too late and you're already out here, or you did internships and you still really can't find anything, then that's when we talk about what can we do. Well, here's the philosophy that I've been adopting. Everybody now is a developer. Everybody now is a web dev. Everybody now can build MERN-stack apps, build CRUD apps. It's just getting to that point now where everybody and their mom is a developer. So if you want to stand out now, you have to exceed that. You can't just be a developer. You need to become a software engineer. And that's what I'm aspiring to. I'm done with just being a developer. I'm ready to be a software engineer. So I would say the first step in that is that JavaScript is great, but you need to know a strongly typed language. When you're working with fintech, medtech, military contractors, a lot of the positions that are maybe not be big tech, but they're great tech jobs, and you need to get this experience, you need to know a strongly typed language. And same thing with, relational and non-relational databases. There's really just not a lot of big enterprise companies that I have seen, that are really, really interested in using non-relational databases. They want relational databases. They want types within the data. They want to make sure that it's coming in cleanly to a strongly typed language so that there's no mistakes. Anybody who's worked with TypeScript, you know that the difference between TypeScript and JavaScript is night and day. Despite them being virtually the same language, the difference is night and day when you're working with them. Having that strongly typed language, just makes a world of difference when you're developing. And that's honestly kind of why I'm leaning more. I personally am starting to like Angular more than I even like React, just because I have that strongly typed language there, to make sure that everything is on the up and up. And same thing with MySQL and Mongo. When I'm developing projects now, honestly, I'm really not using the MERN stack almost at all. I'll use Mongo for certain things, like my blog. I have that, a Mongo database for that. But my important apps, I'm using MySQL or Postgres. I'm not using any type of non-relational database for that. And that's just me personally. That's nothing against non-relational databases. They're great. But me personally, I'm sticking with strongly typed languages, and I'm sticking with relational databases. But even with that, you learn a strongly typed language, Java or C++, C#. I think we need to go even more beyond that. I think we need to go even further beyond that now as juniors to show that we actually love tech. We want to be in this industry. We're interested in learning. We're willing to go to even deeper layers of abstraction. So I've taken things even further than that. I have completely and utterly stopped using all cloud services. I'm not using any AWS, no Vercel, no NetLoFi, no Heroku. For one, the costs can really add up over time. You're hosting your website on Heroku, your apps on Heroku, but you got 5 apps. And they're all getting traffic. Eventually, costs start to pile up. And the same thing happens with AWS. There's the free tier, but if you're using your sites, you're using your apps and they're getting traffic, eventually, those costs start to really add up. And so I'm here to say that I personally think that if you're a junior developer and you want to evolve from that title of junior developer to software engineer, and you want to stand out and you want to really diversify, then one of the best things you can do is develop some system administration skills, start a home lab right here at your own home, right? Either on your laptop, an old computer you have laying around, something, right? Start a home lab, start your own server, start hosting your own web apps, right? So what does that show an employer? That shows an employer that, for one, you actually love tech. You took it, you owned the whole stack, right? From the ground up. There's almost every layer of abstraction. You took that upon yourself to learn and understand how this works. Because when you have your own server, right, there's all of the things that kind of get handled for you when you use Heroku, Netlify, Vercel. That's all on you. You have to make sure you have to handle domains. You have to handle DNS. You need to handle ports. You need to handle security. That's firewall, that's fail to ban. You need to make sure that everything is in order, right? You own it all. So if anything's down, if anything's not working, right, that's fully on you, and you have to take care of that, right? That also shows a lot of responsibility, right? When they go to check on your website and everything's up and it's running, and they know that it's running on your server and everything's on the up and up, right? That shows responsibility. You're managing that server. You're making sure that things are right and in order, right? That is great for you as a young developer, to show that you're not just a developer, but an engineer, right? And that has to be your goal. If you want to stand out, if you want to actually make it in this industry, if you want to be the one that's chosen, right? There are a lot of applicants now. There's a lot of applicants. There's a lot of identical resumes, but there's not a lot of people who are willing to delve deep into tech, right? Really understand how everything's working at every single layer, take ownership of the entire stack, and deploy web apps on their own. So not only are you a developer, but you have DevOps skills. You have skills. You have to know Linux if you're going to have your own server. There is Windows Server, but generally I would use Linux. I've used Linux. I think there's definitely more support for Linux. It's been around longer. I would definitely say that most companies are using Linux now for servers. There's a lot more openings for Windows Server, but that's because there's less automation in Windows Server. But for the purposes of the videos that I'll be making, what I'll be showing you, it's going to all be Linux, right? You're diverse as an engineer. You're not just, MERN stack, and that's what I do, and that's what I know how to do. You're just a lot more diverse than that, and you're showing trust, you're showing credibility, you're showing passion, you're showing a will to learn, to delve deeper, right? That's what's going to take you from JavaScript kiddie to software engineer, right? And that's what we got to do. So that's the journey that I'm on. I want to share that with you. I want to take you with me on that journey. I want to help elevate you from just JavaScript developer to software engineer. If you're ready to go on that journey, you're ready to undergo that quest, then please like and subscribe. And I'm going to be showing you how to do all of that starting tomorrow. Thank you for watching, and have a good one.